The Steam Deck OLED is severely overhyped. Now, this isn't something that I'm saying out of disdain because I wasn't able to get my own unit or anything like that, but because, as a matter of fact, I just don't really think that it is really that big of an upgrade personally. And it's not supposed to be. It's just supposed to be kind of like what the Switch OLED was to the Nintendo Switch. You don't really get a Nintendo Switch OLED if you already own a Nintendo Switch, right? And that is essentially what they're going for here, is what I would say. Most of the improvements come and just improvements to your life day-to-day usage when it comes to the Steam Deck. And I think that that's really what they were aiming for here. So no, like right off the bat, I am going to go ahead and spoil my answer for this video. I don't really think that the Steam Deck is necessarily worth the upgrade. The Steam Deck OLED, to be exact. Because the Steam Deck OLED, as awesome as it seems and as cool as the upgrades are, it's just not really worth the upgrade. And in this video, I'm going to talk about why. So when it comes to the exterior design of the Steam Deck OLED versus the regular Steam Deck over here, we're actually looking at what is essentially still a very much identical build. We're looking at a device that is the exact same size, and you are looking at a device that is made out of the same materials as well. However, one that does, from the offset, appear to run a little bit cooler, which can actually help with the exterior design as it is. Now, with that said, one thing that definitely sticks out are going to be the black thumbsticks, which a lot of people have noted as just looking better, which I do agree with for sure. But another thing that you are going to get, most especially, is going to be the display itself. So let's go ahead and move on to that display. Now, that display is running still at the exact same resolution as the last one, but it's running on an OLED panel, which is already a pretty big deal, which means that the colors are going to be a lot better. The reproduction, the blacks, the whites, everything is going to look so much better on this display. That is without a doubt. However, another thing that is actually a pretty big deal on here is going to be the fact that it's running on 90 Hz instead of the 60 Hz that you're limited with the regular Steam Deck. Now, that on its own, I would argue, is the biggest upgrade that comes with the Steam Deck. That and the battery, I would say. But even then, that's kind of debatable for some reasons, because it really does depend on which games you're playing. But anyway, so this display over here is still honestly pretty good. In my opinion. Okay, like, it's not amazing. The Steam Deck display has never really been an amazing display for handheld or anything like that, but it is still pretty decent. Honestly, it gets the job done just fine for me. So as an LCD screen running at 60 Hz, I don't really expect to play a lot of the games that I play at more than 60 Hz, to be honest, sometimes even more than 30 Hz. It really depends on the game, but I mostly play a lot of JRPGs, so to me that higher refresh rate isn't really going anywhere for me. But to somebody that does play first-person shooters or somebody that plays racing games, that's going to go a longer way. It's going to go the distance even further. So I can understand that. To people that are going to play games like that, maybe you might want to actually consider that upgrade. That might actually look a little bit nicer to you, especially with how well Vulkan games are going to run specifically on the Steam Deck because of the hardware. Now, with that said, that isn't to say that the Steam Deck has a bad display, because it certainly doesn't. But when you put an OLED side by side with this LCD, and since I don't own a Steam Deck OLED, I'm just going to show you the OLED from my Nintendo Switch, you are going to notice that the colors are just drastically better on the OLED display. However, you're not really going to find yourself necessarily needing that for any kind of situations. And with that out of the way, essentially, when it comes to the specifications, there isn't really much of an upgrade either. You're going from a 7nm die to a shrinkage of 6 nanometers, which does actually help with efficiency from what I understand. So we do have a more efficient CPU, we do have a more efficient display, we do have a more efficient battery as well in general, and what makes it more efficient is also the fact that it is a larger battery. But that battery does allow for a much broader range, so you're looking at around 3 hours all the way up to 12 hours versus the 2 hours that you get all the way up to 8 hours, I think, with the regular LCD models. You're probably not going to crack 12 hours on the Steam Deck. You're probably not going to crack 6 or 5 or even really 4 for that matter. 4 might be just wishful thinking for the most part anyway, but it is still nice to be able to get that extra battery life. And if you're going on trips, perhaps that could be pretty nice as well. But honestly, it's not that drastic of an improvement either, because I can still play the games that I want to play on my Steam Deck for a couple of hours at a time if I really want to, and I still don't have a lot of issues here. Now, when it comes to wanting to get that limited edition shell, that's the one that I was really banking on, because I really like how that limited edition Steam Deck OLED looks. So I was really trying to see if I could get that one, but then I ended up changing my mind, because I just realized that with the shell swap, if that's really what I wanted the most, then a shell swap should be able to get the job done for me, and that's exactly what I ended up doing. Now, I am going to add more details to that in a future video, of course, because I think that over here, I think that this Steam Deck does look really awesome. This is the stock 256 gigabyte Steam Deck from before, so yeah, I just ended up doing a shell swap, and it really wasn't that hard. Not as hard as I thought that it was going to be, but not something that I would recommend that everyone does anyway, because I really just like to tinker as well. Now, this Steam Deck I also upgraded from the 256 gigabytes of storage all the way up until 3 terabytes of storage. So those are 2 terabytes from the SSD that I put inside, as well as 1 terabyte micro SD card. So we are looking at 3 terabytes on this Steam Deck. I think that that is much more worth the upgrade than, honestly, a nicer display or a battery, because at the end of the day, you're going to want to carry as much of your library with you as possible. So having that extra storage is going to go a long way. I've barely chewed through 1 terabyte on this, and I've downloaded a lot of games, and I can't really think of much else to download at the moment. When it comes to storage and upgrades and things like that, you can do some things on your own, and I am, again, going to make a separate video on that so that you can upgrade your own Steam Deck, or so that you know what you can upgrade on your Steam Deck. And I want to make an accessories videos for that as well. But with that said, I think that while the Steam Deck OLED does seem really cool because of everything that you get, it is just a very slight incremental upgrade, and you should definitely just wait for Steam Deck 2 if you already own a Steam Deck. So that is going to be my verdict. I ended up having to talk myself out of getting a Steam Deck OLED because I almost bought into the hype. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of reviewers out there are really giving or putting a lot of stock on the Steam Deck OLED because it is a really cool device, I am sure. But one thing that I do appreciate that has been emphasized is that you don't need the OLED if you already own a Steam Deck, which I do appreciate that's being said out there, because it does need to be said, especially considering just how much hype there is behind the Steam Deck OLED, even to this day. Now, with that said, that isn't to say that there's anything wrong with the idea behind the Steam Deck OLED, because an incremental upgrade isn't something that should be shamed or anything like that. I mean, even then, a lot of people will appreciate it, and it is replacing the initial stash of Steam Decks, which is good. So at the minimum, at the base, you're going to get 256 gigabytes of SSD storage, and with a maximum of 1 terabyte, which I think is a very welcome improvement, if anything. There are going to be some benefits with going with that, and if you don't own a Steam Deck, then it is a no-brainer. You should 100% go for the Steam Deck OLED. I am not going to recommend the last generation Steam Deck any longer because of that. But yeah, I mean, the Steam Deck OLED has been severely overhyped from everything that I have seen, and it is actually kind of crazy because while the Steam Deck OLED is pretty cool, again, I'm sure, it's not worth an upgrade, but it is worth a purchase. That's for sure. So I hope that everything in this video makes sense. Now, if you do have any questions or any kinds of concerns, then please make sure to let me know in the comments, because I'm definitely dying to hear what your thoughts are. Do you have a Steam Deck OLED? Please let me know, because I would love to hear about what you guys have been cooking up in your heads, cooking up in your minds. So please make sure to let me know in the comments. Now, this has been Francisco from Tech Summit. I'll see you next time with a regular tech video, and until next time, have a good one and enjoy.